going on, guys? Junior's Fishing Company. I got bad allergies. I'm starting to kind of think about winter stuff, but I've got a couple more ideas I want to tie up. I've got this musky jig in my head that's absurdly bright that I think I might do next. But I was at my cabin and I was kind of talking to my neighbor who was a big fisherman, and he said he was hitting them, he was hammering them on like small suckers and like really big fatheads. And so I told him, he knows I give him a lot of baits, and I told him I'd tie something up that kind of mimics that. So I've got here, this is a Sub Sonic spin jig from Lure Parts Online. So it's just going to be a super simple tie, super quick tie, simple pattern. It's going to be all gray, just a couple different shades of gray with a black. I'm going to do a black tail with a little deer hair and then actually a long streak, bundle. This is actually Arctic goat. And I'll show you kind of what I did there in just a sec. So I'm going to put some flash in there. This is Holographic Flashabou Moon. It's by far my favorite flash. It's got silver and some black and a little bit of opal. And then you can kind of see that these underspins kind of come, some of them come like straight down, but some of them come, they're different. I don't know why. Like at an angle kind of like this, you can kind of see I've bent this one differently, because if you have that blade, if this is up too far, that blade's going to hit the deer hair, it won't spin. So I always bend them down just to even give it a fraction of more space between the material, whatever you use, and make sure that blade's spinning. So I'm going to put on some deer hair first, and this is really just to add some bulk to the tail. And I don't want this bait to be super long. I'm going to keep it at probably 5, maybe 5. It'll swim really small because this tail is going to be so thin that it's not going to quite look, it's not going to be a bulky 5 inches. So you can always go a little bit longer, and you'll never really regret going too long on a big 3/8 ounce jig, in my opinion. Not to go crazy big, but and I'll fast forward through some of this. The last couple videos, the first ones I posted that were like 40 minutes, and then I finally figured out how to fast forward and shorten down a video to be actually watchable. So I've got that deer hair down. Now I've got this polar Arctic goat, one of the two, and you can see I've got a bunch down here. So this stuff comes super long. I don't know if I wore the right shirt. It's super long, and I'll just grab it like this and I'll pull out the longest ones and I'll restack them. So this is the length of some of these. I didn't want it to be super long and thin. I kind of wanted a little bit of bulk on there, so you can just pull out and stack on the other one. So that should be good. This deer hair is thin, and this goat moves crazy good in the water. So I'll just trim that off. Make sure that I like the length. And I'm only going to do 3 stacks of hair. I could for sure fit way more on if I went farther back, but again, I don't want this bait to be, you know, a big 6-inch bait when he might be, you know, some of these small, you know, suckers. I mean, suckers come in so many different sizes, but I know if I give him an 8-inch bait, he won't end up using it. So, but I'm not gonna give him a little wimpy thing either. He was catching a bunch of different stuff on him. He's a big smallmouth guy though. He always finds them. Luckily he'll tell me where they're biting, so I always try to give him some baits. I'll tell him some spots too, but so get that down, and then I can just trim off this stuff up here. Alright, so I ended up putting just a couple strands of flash in there, and now I've got just, this is kind of just like an actual gray. You can't really see, it might look more white. It's a pretty light gray. It's definitely, I don't want to pick that stack up, but the last stack of gray I put up here is going to be a lot darker. I didn't add any other colors into these, just because I want to go with, there's a little black in that moon holographic flashabou that I think is going to be sufficient enough to add a little bit of darker color in there. So I'm going to bring this deer hair back a pretty good amount. I just want a little of this black to be on its own. This is going to be so thin once I spread it around, this first one, that you're going to be able to see that black underneath it anyway. And I don't want to go too far up here because I've only got room for 3. I could probably fit 4 anyway, but I really, for some reason, you just think of a bait and you just think, well, I'll just do 3, you know. But it's just what I had in my head. Cord up my thread, and I'm going to go right, there was this little almost like a bait keeper. You can kind of see it on this one. There's a little bait keeper right down there that I've got this old file, and I'll just file it down. I end up doing that on most baits. If it's got a metal guard, you just bend them off, but oh, that's all right. But you always want to remove those if you can. If that's why in these videos I really haven't tied on a tungsten head, because if it's got a bait keeper on it, you're not going to be able to get it off. So again, you can see how thin this gray is going to be just on this one, and even the second one will be almost as thin, not quite, and then the head is going to be really thick. But I just want to make sure that that looks pretty good. Make sure that I cinch that down really good. There's a little life in these fibers, but that's alright. It all mats down anyway when you're jigging it with a heavy jig like this. So I'll come up, I'm going to come up a pretty good amount. I just want to make sure I get all that hair. I'm going to come up a pretty good amount. I'm going to have a nice gap here. That's why I'm using red thread. That red will run kind of all through it. 210. This is Danville's. So I've got pretty much the same exact stack. I actually just cut one big one and split it. So one might be a little bit heavier than the other, but and I might even almost go the same length as the previous one, maybe a little bit shorter. So you can see I added a bunch of that flash in there that's going to kind of make, you know, this is all gray, so I wanted something that's going to be in there to make it a little, have a little color in it, because, you know, not many fish are all one color. So this last stack that I've got is actually going to be, it's a lot darker. You can, I don't know if you can really see, it looks lighter up here I think, but this is actually kind of how it is. I actually changed my lighting because it's dark outside. I usually try to do these videos with a little natural light, but so I'm going to end up not going too crazy short, because I want to add like some bulk to at least half of this. And then if you've watched any of the other videos, I'm going to get that razor blade out and trim. So this is a little, this will end up being fine. I got to watch out for this, or the blade's going to be two good wraps, come down, and this was all hair that was at the bottom of the tail, so it should have a lot of life in it, which again, this little blade thing, it definitely gets in the way a little bit, but just take your time. Try not to put too much pressure on it before you really are sure everything's where you want it to be. It's already flaring quite a bit. I'm not going to be crazy picky about it being like super duper duper even. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to hold these butts back and kind of rotate it a little and put, I'm close to breaking that thread though. This one. So now give it a couple wraps coming up towards the head. I don't want to work my way back. You don't have to work up, just don't work back. And you just want enough wraps. Really, I just do enough wraps where when I'm cutting with my razor blade all of these butts off, I want enough wraps on there where it's not gonna come undone. That's really the only reason I'm doing these wraps. So that should be good to go. It always looks different on camera, but so now razor blade right on the edge of where my thread is, and then I'm gonna wrap up to cover the rest up. Alright, so that took so long because honestly I don't think I could cut butter with this. I've got a pack of new ones, but I didn't feel like getting up. So always make sure these razor blades get dull super fast. Even with how minimal I'm cutting, especially because you know you're pushing on lead and paint, and you know they dull up quick. So I'm gonna end up, I've got, this is a number 4, size 4, just silver Colorado blade. I've got one little tiny little 10-pound, 13-pound I think, split ring with just your typical barrel swivel. And I'm going to put that there. And the way that these come is you have to, I think you wouldn't be very smart if you didn't, pinch these closed with like a pliers or something. And I'll pinch that closed, and then so then that way hopefully this runs nice and low, because of course this hair is going to come up a little bit, but I don't want it to climb up into my hair, otherwise it's just going to be some extra flash. I want this thing to spin, especially with the Colorado blades. If you're jigging with it, you can still feel that blade spin just a little bit. But yeah, super simple gray, little bit of black, underspin. These are big eyes, 7mm eyes. I'm just a fan of big eyes, so but that black will just come out on the back like third of the bait, and this dark gray is going to kind of cover up some of that light gray, and you can see the flash in there. So yeah, quick, easy tie, nothing special about it, but yeah, I want to do a big bright musky one, and then yeah, I'm kind of excited to start tying some smaller flies to get the 70 denier out and see what we can do. But Junior Fishing Company, thanks for all the subscriptions and likes and stuff like that. Keep them coming. I'm getting some good comments, starting some good conversations, so drop a comment if there's something you want to see. Yeah, see you on the next one.